Hello and a very good morning. It just passed 8 this Thursday morning and we're back again with all the news on Breakfast News. I am Nancy Kohli and with me is Anil Thomas. Good morning, Anil.
Good morning, Nancy.
Well, yes, so over the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the news that's been making it to the headlines this morning, sports and business updates as well, and important, in fact, updates we'll be getting as far as Bihar elections are concerned. Well, the first phase are over, but the remaining phases are left, so we'll get you updated on that. And also, Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to Kevadia, we'll be getting you updates on that as well. And important updates, in fact, taking place across the nation and the world as far as many more international headlines are concerned. We'll get you all of that. Stay with us for the next 1 hour.
Well, if you look at this particular, the next 2 weeks are very crucial, not only for India, but also for the world, especially when it comes to Bihar elections in India and the American-US presidential election taking place all across America. So two important events over the next fortnight that could decide the fate, not only of an important state like Bihar, but also the world when it comes to America. But today, October 29th, is also celebrated as the International Internet Day. It was on this very day in 2005 that the International Internet Day was decided to be celebrated, and it's a great momentous day, especially in the history of telecommunications and connectivity. Well, lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes. Let's get started with the top headlines that we are tracking at the top of this hour.
An estimated 54.26% voter turnout registered in the first phase of the Bihar Assembly elections despite the COVID-19 fears. Highest voting of 63.33% recorded in Chainpur Assembly constituency. An incident-free voting sees voters following all the COVID-19 protocol.
Campaigning for second phase of Bihar polls continues to gather pace, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing a series of election rallies. PM says only Nitish Kumar can give a corruption-free government to the state. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi to address his poll rallies in the state.
Prime Minister Modi to participate in Ekta Divas celebrations at Gujarat's Kevadia on 31st of October on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Sardar Patel. Prime Minister Modi to also inaugurate various projects under integrated development of Kevadia on 30th and 31st October.
India strongly deplores personal attack on French President Emmanuel Macron, calling them in violation of the most basic standards of international discourse. Also condemns brutal terrorist attack that took the life of a French teacher. Says there is no justification for terrorism for any reason or under any circumstance.
Enforcement Directorate arrests M. Shiv Shankar, the former Principal Secretary of Kerala Chief Minister, in a money laundering case in connection with the gold smuggling case in Kochi. Shiva Shankar will be produced before a local court in Ernakulam today.
ICMR study finds BCG vaccination induces enhanced innate and adaptive immunity in elderly individuals, which may prove beneficial against COVID-19 virus. Study finds that the vaccine induces increased memory cell responses and total antibody production in elderly.
In international news, French President Emmanuel Macron announces a nationwide lockdown from tomorrow to contain the rebound of COVID-19. Says new measures will mean people will have to stay in their homes except to buy the essential goods and seeking medical attention.
Well, those were the headlines at the top of this hour. Now for the stories in detail, starting first up with a look at the election-bound state of Bihar. Well, Bihar went to the polls on Wednesday in the first phase, marking the beginning of the first mass election since the COVID-19 pandemic struck the country. Polling was held on 71 out of the 243 seats in the state. An estimated 54.26% voter turnout was registered in the first phase of Bihar assembly polls. Voter turnout increased at several places within the first few hours of commencement of polling. Highest voter turnout of 63.33% was recorded in Chainpur Assembly constituency. Incident-free voting day saw voters following COVID-19 protocols laid down by the administration.
Those 4 districts went to the polls in the first phase of Bihar election, the biggest electoral exercise of its kind in the times of COVID-19 pandemic. A large number of voters cast their ballot in spite of the coronavirus. The enthusiasm was palpable among men and women, young and old alike. Long queues were seen at some places since early morning. Polling began at 7 a.m. for 71 seats in 16 districts. It closed at 6 in the evening at all places except the Naxal-affected areas. Barring some stray incidents of EVM malfunction, the polling passed off peacefully. Over 14 lakh people were eligible to vote at the more than 31,000 polling centers in 71 constituencies, which included 53 seats in Magad region and 18 in other areas. The Election Commission had made elaborate arrangements in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Care was taken to ensure the COVID-19 protocols such as a face mask, gloves and physical distancing. Thermal screening was done before a voter was allowed inside a polling booth.
अच्छी सरकार बने जो सभी लोगों के सुख दुख का ख्याल रखे, बिहार को एक ऊंचाई पर ले जाने का ध्यान रखे.
Voter turnout was low in the initial hours of polling, but it picked up by noon. Women and youth cast their ballot in large numbers.
बहुत अच्छा महसूस हो रहा है क्योंकि अपना जो होता है कि मतदान का मतलब होता है कि अपने इच्छा से देना, वो हम किए.
बस अच्छा फील हो रहा है, फर्स्ट टाइम अपना सिटीजन होने का फर्ज अदा किया है.
बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है. पहले तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि भाई किसको दिया जाए, फिर जैसे जैसे जाना कि कौन सही है उस हिसाब से दिया.
Central paramilitary force personnel were deployed in all Naxal affected areas so that polling could take place freely, fairly and peacefully. Among the prominent names who cast their ballot in the first phase of election were Union Minister Giriraj Singh, who voted in Lakhisarai, Bihar Parliamentary Affairs and Rural Development Minister Shailesh Kumar at Munger, Prem Kumar at Gaya, Shreyasi Singh at Jamui and former Bihar Chief Minister Jitan Ram Majhi at Gaya.
विकास पर चर्चा करने से लोग भाग रहे हैं. मैं चुनौती के साथ कहता हूं कि महागठबंधन के नेता कभी विकास पे चर्चा नहीं की. उन्होंने अपने पोस्टर से अपने पिता और माता को हटा दिया कि लोग 15 साल पहले का चेहरा न देखें. लेकिन अगर राजनीतिक विरासत आपको मिली है माता और पिता, तो स्वाभाविक है आपको उसका गुना भाग करके लोगों को बताना होगा.
जंगल राज वर्सेज विकास का मामला है. 2005 के पहले बिहार में जंगल राज था. जंगल राज की पुनरावृत्ति नहीं हो, इसके लिए बिहार की जनता एनडीए के पक्ष में वोट कर रही है. और दूसरी बात विकास है, तो ये 15 वर्षों में नीतीश कुमार के नेतृत्व में बिहार में बहुत विकास हुआ है. इस चीज़ को लोग कंटिन्यू रखना चाहते हैं कि विकास की गाड़ी जो पटरी पर चल रही है बेपटरी नहीं हो, इसलिए सभी एनडीए के पक्ष में लोग वोट करना चाह रहे हैं और वोट कर रहे हैं.
With the conclusion of phase 1 of election, focus shifts to the constituencies that will go to the polls in the next phase. With Bureau Inputs, DD India.
And the campaigning for the second phase is in full swing. Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday addressed a rally at Raj Maidan in Darbhanga. The Chief Minister Nitish Kumar was present on the occasion, and Prime Minister Modi's second rally of the day was at Muzaffarpur. He began by reiterating that people must vote to ensure Bihar gets a government that puts development and good governance above all else. In a veiled reference to RJD's Tejaswi, the Prime Minister said it was not the time to trust those who lack experience or make hollow promises. Prime Minister Modi presented Nitish Kumar as the leader who brought Bihar out of Jungle Raj. Prime Minister Modi's last rally of the day was in Patna, where he again hit out at the opposition. Let's now listen into the big takeaways from his rallies.
पग पग पोखर माछ मखान, मधुर बोल मुस्की मुखपान, विद्या वैभव शांति प्रतीक, विद्या प्रतिग्नि ई मिथिला थी। ऐसे में पान माछ मखाना, इन सब में आत्मनिर्भर भारत को ताकत देने की बहुत बड़ी संभावना इस क्षेत्र में है। जन्मभूमि अच्छी मिथिला, समारोह है मां, कनी आबी अपन नहर निहारू है मां। सदियों की तपस्या के बाद अब आखिरकार अयोध्या में भव्य राम मंदिर का निर्माण शुरू हो गया। वो सियासी लोग जो बार बार हमें तारीख पूछा करते थे, बहुत मजबूरी में अब वो भी तालियां बजा रहे हैं। दरभंगा एम्स के लिए 1200 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा मंजूर किए गए हैं। यहां के लोगों को बेहतर स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं तो मिलेगी ही, मेडिकल की पढ़ाई की सीटें भी बढ़ेगी। कोरोना के इस संकट काल में हमने ये भी कहा था कि हर गरीब को मुफ्त में अनाज देंगे। आज बिहार के भी गरीबों के लिए दिवाली और छठ पूजा तक मुफ्त में राशन की व्यवस्था की गई। कमीशन शब्द से उन्हें इतना प्रेम था कि कनेक्टिविटी पर कभी ध्यान ही नहीं दिया। पैसा हजम, परियोजना खत्म। बिहार के लोग ये ठान चुके हैं, बिहार को लूटने वालों को फिर हराएंगे। एक तरफ महामारी हो और साथ ही जंगल राज वाले राज करने आ जाएं, कोरोना से लड़ाई के लिए जो इतनी राशि खर्च की जा रही है, तो इन पैसों का होगा क्या? बिहार के लोग इस प्रण के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं कि कोरोना के साथ ही बिहार को नुकसान पहुंचाने वाली इन ताकतों को भी हराना है। घरों के मालिकाना हक को लेकर हमेशा विवाद रहते हैं, भ्रम की स्थिति रही है। ये स्वामित्व योजना प्रायोगिक रूप से अभी 6 राज्यों में शुरू की है। जैसे ही यहां चुनाव और आचार संहिता समाप्त हो जाएगी, बिहार के गांवों को भी इसका एक बहुत बड़ा लाभ मिलने वाला है। एनडीए सरकार के प्रयासों के कारण बिहार ने असुविधा से सुविधा की और अंधेरे से उजाले की ओर एक लंबा सफर तय किया। लालटेन काल का अंधेरा अब छट चुका है। पहले गंगा जी की स्वच्छता एक बहुत बड़ा विषय था, अब गंगा जी का पानी तो साफ हुआ ही है, यहां पटना में रिवर फ्रंट भी बन चुका है। जंगल राज के युवराज क्या वो बिहार को आईटी के क्षेत्र में या आधुनिकता के किसी भी क्षेत्र में आगे ले जा सकते हैं?
Well, let's now listen into some reactions to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rally at Darbhanga.
पूरे बिहार के लोग जाते थे, मिथिलांचल के लोग दिल्ली इलाज कराने के लिए। वो एम्स हमारे अब दरभंगा उत्तर बिहार में रहेगा। इससे लिए हमारे और बिहार वासियों की खुशी के लिए क्या हो सकता है?
मोदी जी के भाषण में लगा जो बिहार में जो 15 साल पहले जो शासन करने वाले थे उन पर जो चोट मारा है और उनको यहाँ टपने की कोई व्यवस्था कर नहीं टपने देंगे। सबसे अच्छा यही लगा कि उन 15 साल पूर्व शासन करने वाले को हम टपने नहीं देंगे बिहार में।
यदि एनडीए की सरकार बनेगी तो जरूर हम लोगों के लिए रोजगार का मुहैया अवसर कराया जाएगा।
मिथिलांचल के लिए जो है सो प्रधानमंत्री जी और मुख्यमंत्री जी बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं। उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम और जनता से कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। ये आम पार्टी जो मतलब सभी आल के जो मिल रहे हैं, सब मिल के काम हम सब अच्छा कर रहे हैं।
बिहार में और देश में बेईमान घोटालाबाज का राज खत्म हो गया और मोदी जी नीतीश कुमार ईमानदार है। हम लोग गरीब गुरबा का खूब अच्छा से फायदा पहुंचाता है और हम लोग फिर से मोदी जी के तीसरा बार प्रधानमंत्री बनाएंगे। नीतीश कुमार के मुख्यमंत्री फिर से बनाएगा।
And as the attention in the Bihar elections now shifts to phase 2 of polling, the main opposition, the Mahagathbandhan, has sharpened its attack on the BJP-JDU alliance. Rahul Gandhi and Tejaswi Yadav have campaigned in different parts of the state, and meanwhile the issue of firing in Munger is also taking a political turn. Chirag Paswan is pulling no punches when it comes to Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. There's more from Battleground, Bihar.
Amid voting for the first phase polling in Bihar, campaigning for the second phase is peaking in the state. Rahul Gandhi led the election rallies for Mahagathbandhan at different locations. Addressing an election rally in West Champaran, Rahul Gandhi reminded voters about the promises made by the coalition in power.
गेहूं का किसान, धान का किसान समझता है कि उसे अपने मान के लिए सही दाम नहीं मिल सकता, चाहे वो कुछ भी कर ले।
Meanwhile, RJD leader Tejaswi Yadav claimed that this time fight is between the ruling coalition and the people of Bihar. People are angry and will give their blessings to Mahagathbandhan.
बिल्कुल सफल होंगे क्योंकि जनता के साथ हम खड़े हैं और ये लड़ाई सरकार बनाम जनता है और जनता की जीत होना तय है और हम इस लड़ाई में जनता के साथ खड़े हैं।
On the other hand, RLSP chief Upendra Kushwaha blamed both BJP-JDU coalition and RJD Congress Mahagathbandhan for the deplorable state of affairs in Bihar. He said people in the state want to punish both the coalitions.
राहुल गांधी हो या देखिए एनडीए वाले हो या महागठबंधन वाले, हमने बार बार कहा है इन लोगों ने 15-15 साल बिहार की जनता को ठगा। अब दोबारा इन लोगों पर बिहार के लोग नहीं भरोसा करने वाले हैं। 15 साल में चाहे इन्होंने चाहे उन्होंने शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य, रोजगार का कुछ इंतजाम नहीं किया, बल्कि बिहार को और बर्बादी में धकेल दिया। तो इस परिस्थिति में दोनों गठबंधन से जनता नाराज है, मुक्ति चाहती।
Amid these developments, the issue of firing and lathicharge in Munger turned into a bitter political fight. Mahagathbandhan parties and LJP have blamed Nitish Kumar for the incident. Chirag Paswan compared Nitish Kumar to General Dyer.
मुंगेर में जिस तरीके की शर्मनाक घटना घटी, इसकी जवाबदेही किसकी है, इसकी जिम्मेदारी किसकी है? मुख्यमंत्री आज भी मुख्यमंत्री तो हैं ही हमारे प्रदेश के। अगर ये लापरवाही प्रशासन की नहीं है, जिला प्रशासन की नहीं है, तो किसकी है?
In the second phase, 94 seats across 17 districts of Ang, Magad, Mithilanchal, Kosi, Saran and Tirhit regions will go to polls on 3rd November. Votes will be counted on the 10th of November. DD India.
Well, lots to look forward to there. Still 2 phases of election left in Bihar on November 3rd and November 7th. And still in the first phase, just 71 seats going to the polls. But a good voter turnout if you look in terms of percentage, considering we are in COVID times. And to get a perspective there from ground zero, joining us is our correspondent Abhishek Jha this morning. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, looking specifically when it comes to the first phase of polling and the numbers that have been clocked, do you feel that it's a leap of faith? Considering we are in COVID times and at least this numbers being, at this point of time, in the first phase, the numbers that have come when it comes to polling.
Actually, something a welcome step and a congratulatory moment for all the stakeholders who were involved in this Bihar election process, including the election commission, people, voters, political parties. Because everywhere it was believed that this corona pandemic can impact the poll, impact the campaigning, and impact all administrative processes that were to put in that was to be put in place to conduct a smooth polling process. But last day when I was in Patna, Masaudi, Gaya, Jahanabad, I almost traveled to like 100 kilometers, and across so many booths, I saw a peak of enthusiasm among voters. They had no qualms in accepting the fact that the polling is of paramount importance. And though this is a COVID time, but with due safety measures, due health, following due health safety protocols, they should go and cast their ballots and practice their constitutional right. And this is why this polling percentage has been so good. And
right, Abhishek, of course the voters, they're very responsible, and also in fact following all the COVID-19 protocol, but realizing what this important day really means for the state of Bihar as far as polling is concerned, and in fact coming out in large numbers and exercising their franchise, and also in fact realizing on the ground, Abhishek, that even as politics has been played out, good governance and development are still the core of their issues.
So Nancy, this time around, there was majorly 2-3 issues were mostly discussed in Bihar campaigning. One was of employment opportunities, because there's a large number of youth present in Bihar who seek to have more employability. So it can be through their entrepreneurship, skill development, giving better education infrastructure, or improving health infrastructure. In fact, with this corona pandemic coming in place, health infrastructure across the globe has been exposed, and Bihar was no exception to that. Bihar was in fact not having very good infrastructure in health department, and so now people are more eager to have a better health infrastructure that can deal with such pandemic and upcoming days if there is revival of corona or something bigger happens. So this has also become one of the major issues: education, skill development, employment. This has been major issues. Also, Nitish Kumar government, the incumbent government, has evoked the memories of the last 15 years of Lalu Rabdi era, where the corruption and crime was so much prevalent that Bihar was infamous for kidnapping, murders, and there was a total. It was called that it was a jungle raj. So those memories were invoked by the incumbent government, while the opposition has said that in the last 15 years, the Nitish Kumar government has failed to provide employment opportunities to so many youth. And this is one reason why the migration from Bihar states to other states has still not stopped. And we have seen that with this corona pandemic and so many small industries being shut across the country, a large number of migration workforce has come back to Bihar. And this is why both the party has been at the core of the campaign has been to engage youth and to woo them to come out in large numbers and vote for the respective parties. So, and one more interesting fact has been the Bihar, which has been deeply divided into caste lines. This time around, the caste lines, one cannot say that it has been absolutely wiped out among the political parties in distributing tickets, or the voters in their mind that they have not considered, they are not considering voting pattern on the basis of caste lines. But then campaigning has been very much focused around developmental issues, and people are also talking more about developmental issues. And this is a welcome move in Bihar, in a state which has been divided into caste lines in the past decades, and now people are talking about developmental issues, and they are considering to vote on these issues.
Okay, Abhishek, moving to the second phase of elections, which has close to 94 seats there are for grabs. Having said that, this is the election that's got close to 1,463 candidates. But when you look at the criminal track record that you see, almost 34% of the the people in the fray have criminal records against them, and the Election Commission has come out with a new rule where you need to publicize them in newspapers. How are people taking to this new development, especially when it comes to seeing the candidates with criminal records against them, and some having serious charges against some serious charges against few candidates?
So Anil, this criminal record of candidates and political parties still giving them tickets, and they are still being elected by their supporters to the assembly constituency or the parliament. This is a long pending problem of Indian political system, civil society system, and with this the Election Commission coming out with certain guidelines. This is truly going to help people understand what their candidate's background is. But largely, this is a step that political parties need to take in a strong
right,
way.
Abhishek.
They need to put
absolutely. All right, Abhishek, thanks very much for joining us for the moment. We'll, of course, be coming back to you for regular updates as far as polling in Bihar is concerned. Thanks very much. Moving on now, well, to commemorate the 145th birth anniversary of Sardar Patel on 31st of October this year as a Rashtriya Ekta Divas, Prime Minister Modi will visit Kevadia in Gujarat to pay homage to the great leader at the Statue of Unity. Prime Minister Modi will participate at the Ekta Divas parade and administer the Rashtriya Ekta Pledge. Prime Minister Modi will also be witnessing a rifle drill by female officers of the CRPF. And as part of the Ekta Divas celebrations, a cultural show of tribal heritage is also being organized at Kevadia. To mark this solemn occasion, the Indian Air Force will perform a flypast. And thereafter, Prime Minister Modi will interact with and address 428 officer trainees belonging to various civil services currently undergoing the 95th foundation course at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, through video conference as a culmination of Arambh 2020. The theme of Arambh 2020 is Governance in India at 100 with 3 sub-themes. That's as a part of the integrated development of Kevadia. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate various projects on 30th and 31st of October. He'll also be launching the seaplane service connecting the Statue of Unity in Kevadia with Sabarmati riverfront in Ahmedabad. And let's now go across to our correspondent Meghna Dev, who is joining us with more updates as far as Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to Kevadia in Gujarat is concerned. Meghna, good morning. So as part of the integrated development of Kevadia, well, many various projects will be inaugurated. First of all, give us a sense of these projects and what does this really mean for Kevadia, especially the Ekta river cruise, well, that, through which the passengers there can in fact see the Statue of Unity from a distance.
Yes, a very good morning from the banks of River Narmada. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to come here and is going to inaugurate a number of projects on the 30th and 31st, I would like to tell you that there are several attractions that have come up lately near the Statue of Unity and the vicinity and the nearby areas. And what is important also is that all these facilities and all these attractions are also have also emerged as a very important and essential place to actually develop night tourism here. And night tourism has also developed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also going to inaugurate a ferry, a cruise, Ekta Cruise, the Ekta Mall. He is also going to unveil several other services here and attractions here. He is going to visit the Arogya One, which is built on the theme of health awareness, health consciousness, and all these parameters. This is also one important place, the Children Nutrition Park, which is also important on the front of educational tourism, as we say. So all in all, this place is not only emerged as a place where we can come to see the Statue of Unity. Now it takes at least 2 to 3 days to actually, complete the entire vicinity around the Statue of Unity and the several special theme parks or attractions that have come up around here. Also, what's important here is Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to address Arambh 2020, which is where he will address the civil service probationers, he will address the officer trainees here. Last year also he had addressed the officer trainees here at Kevadia itself, but this time it is going to be through the virtual medium for them. So this time around, all the probationers will be addressed. Also, last year, World Bank Chief David Malpass had addressed the probationers, but this time around, the MD of World Bank is going to address before the Prime Minister's address. So this is also important. The next thing is, obviously, the first ever seaplane service in the country will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister, which will connect Kevadia to the Sabarmati riverfront in Ahmedabad. So it is going to be first seaplane service in the country, and definitely when we had seen the visuals of when the seaplane had arrived in Ahmedabad from Maldives, it has become a very important point. People were flocking into actually see and getting amused with how the seaplane looks, how it lands and how it flies off. So all these things. So yes, definitely there is a lot of excitement on the tourism front, not only on the tourism front, but also the educational tourism that this
Sure.
place carries and the beautiful how the entire tribal area of
Okay.
Narmada
Right.
has transformed
Right,
in the
Meghna,
past
okay.
few years.
So the excitement there very much in the air, especially when it comes to Prime Minister's 2-day visit there to Gujarat and in Kevadia in particular, where the National Day of Unity will be celebrated, and we'll be getting you all the live action over the next 2 days there from our team of correspondents and a team of live coverage there all across as the Prime Minister goes on a 2-day visit to Gujarat. Well, moving on with international travel of more than 2.85 million people being done till now under the Vande Bharat mission and more than 15 million domestic travelers, India's civil aviation sector is flying high. The phase 7 of Vande Bharat mission begins today with more destinations, flights and bubble arrangements. The mission aims at bringing back stranded citizens from foreign countries amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Air India will operate 122 flights beginning today till November 30th. Well, for more on the story, Arun Sharma, correspondent, joining us, giving an update on which are the new sectors where Vande Bharat is going to operate. Arun, good morning. Arun, give us a sense of, Vande Bharat, this particular phase, which are the new uncharted territories that we are entering into, and looking at the scale on which, travelers have come back and forth, coming back to India and going abroad. How do you see this time the scaling up?
Good morning, Anil. Good morning, Nancy. And of course, the longest and the largest evacuation exercise, that's the Vande Bharat mission, is into its 7th phase. The specific part of Vande Bharat mission 7 is not to, it's primarily, increasing the number of flight services into various countries. That includes Australia, Canada, various countries of US, in US and various countries of various European countries. So important aspect is to increase the number of flights. That's the mission of Vande Bharat phase 7. We have seen that in the first phase of Vande Bharat, close to 12,000 to 14,000 passengers were evacuated. And now the number has increased to close to 3 million passengers that were evacuated in Vande Bharat till Vande Bharat phase 6. And now we're into Vande Bharat phase 7. Important aspect is also that the resumption of the domestic services or domestic aviation sector has also fueled this Vande Bharat mission, because earlier what was happening that international flight of the Vande Bharat mission was bringing passengers only to the metro cities. But what after they are coming back to the metro cities? So yes, the domestic passenger services, which was running till the capacity of 33% to the pre-COVID times, that has now increased to close to 60% of the pre-COVID times. So that has also given a major push to the Vande Bharat mission. So yes, now various modes were used during this Vande Bharat various mission, that is the sea route, of course the air route, and now an additional part is that the air bubble mechanism has been established. With close to 20 countries, India has established the air bubble mechanism. Now, recently Netherlands and Tanzania, have also been included as far as air bubble mechanism is concerned. So on one side, Vande Bharat mission is in place as far as evacuation of the various passengers are concerned. So on the other side, air bubble mechanism is also in place, so that same number of flights can also be run by the other countries also, which will benefit both the countries. So in this case, as earlier, the Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has already mentioned this point, that until and unless the scheduled international commercial flights are in place, this Vande Bharat mission and of course the air bubble mechanism is the only way forward as far as international travel is concerned. So yes, it's a great sigh of relief for all those passengers who were stranded, and it has brought back close to 3 million passengers back home, bringing smiles on their faces. Anil?
Absolutely. All right, Arun, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates. Let's now move on to our next focus, and that's about the Foreign Secretary. Harshvardhan Shringla is scheduled to visit France, Germany and the UK from today till the 4th of November. France, Germany and the UK are strategic partners of India and are nations with which India has close and well-established relations. Bilateral ties are multidimensional and have grown rapidly. And during his visit, the Foreign Secretary will review the bilateral relations and discuss matters of mutual interest and share Indian perspectives with his counterparts and with other key interlocutors. He'll also be interacting with business persons, academics, intellectuals and media persons in these 3 countries. The Foreign Secretary will also discuss international cooperation in dealing with the ongoing pandemic and its consequences. Indian priorities such as robust and reformed multilateralism, its expanded multilateral and plurilateral engagements, including its forthcoming non-permanent tenure in the UNSC and its commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific will also be discussed. Let's in fact get more perspective on the Foreign Secretary's visit to Europe. We have a correspondent, Amritpal Singh, joining us at the moment. Amrit, just put this into perspective for us. The Foreign Secretary's visit to Europe, in fact, going to be deepening and fostering Indian engagement with these European nations.
That's right, Nancy. And remember, this is the first visit of the Foreign Secretary to a country or to a group of countries outside the neighborhood.
Yes.
In the post-COVID, in the COVID scenario. Now, this only reflects the importance India attaches to the Europe, or old Europe as it's known, the three countries that the Foreign Secretary is visiting. This comes after the series of virtual engagements led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar with Europe in the recent months.
Right.
And as you said, the Indian push is essentially for a greater synergy in alignment in the relations with these countries. They are key trade partners. There is alignment in views of key foreign policy issues and security issues, which encompass both the Indo-Pacific and relations with China, as the wariness with China as a reliable partner or somebody whose phones and cars they may be using, but whose principles and values they don't agree with. India emerges as a natural choice, and the earlier reluctance of, France and Germany to look at the Indo-Pacific, or Britain to see, though it has been a US ally, to see Indo-Pacific as very far off. Now, in a post-COVID situation, and China's role as being perceived in the world has changed a lot. So I think the Indian Foreign Secretary, when he addresses, representatives of the government, academia, businesses, this is what he would try to build upon, the synergy in relationships which go in vital areas like security, defense, climate and energy.
Right.
Amrit, considering the successful completion of the 2+2 ministerial dialogue, the next step of going across to Europe and, trying to embark on, bolstering the relationship, especially as you mentioned with, old European countries, is that the next significant step taken in the right direction?
This could be seen as like that following the successful conduct of the 2+2 ministerial engagement, India is now embarking on bolstering its relations with strategic partners in Europe. Remember, all three countries are strategic partners of India. So after the US outreach, it is basically an outreach to Europe to strengthen your security ties in a changed world situation, and also cooperation in a COVID era, be it the challenges of isolation that this COVID pandemic has imposed upon us, or the possibilities of cooperation in vaccine production and vaccine, bringing it to the markets, distribution. So these are all possibilities that the Foreign Secretary would be exploring.
All right.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us, Amritpal, with those inputs there on that particular story. Well, staying with the Ministry of External Affairs, India has strongly deplored the personal attacks in unacceptable language on the French President Emmanuel Macron. In a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said that we strongly deplore the personal attacks in unacceptable language on President Emmanuel Macron in violation of the most basic standard of international discourse. We also condemn the brutal terrorist attack that took the life of a French teacher in a gruesome manner that has shocked the world. We offer our condolences to his family and the people of France. There is no justification for terrorism for any reason or under any circumstance.
In some other news now, the Enforcement Directorate, which is probing the money trail in the gold smuggling case, arrested Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's former Principal Secretary M. Shivashankar on Wednesday night. The officer had been questioned for more than 90 hours by various national agencies so far. Earlier on Wednesday, High Court had rejected the anticipatory bail application filed by Shiva Shankar against arrest from Customs and the ED. And after the bail application was rejected, within minutes, ED took custody of Shiva Shankar for interrogation from the Ayurveda hospital in Trivandrum, where he was under treatment. He was then taken to Cochin, and after almost 6-hour-long interrogation, his arrest was registered by the ED. Shiva Shankar will be produced before a local court in Ernakulam today. The Kerala gold smuggling case is being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate, the National Investigating Agency and the Customs Department. Well, it involves the smuggling of at least 30 kilograms gold allegedly through diplomatic channels in July. The gold worth around 14 crore rupees was seized at Thiruvananthapuram airport from diplomatic baggage meant to be delivered to the UAE consulate on the 5th of July. M. Shiva Shankar had been questioned several times by the 3 central probe agencies amid allegations of close links with the accused in the gold smuggling case. And let's now go across to our correspondent Ajay Joy, who's joining us with more updates on that. Ajay, good morning. In fact, even as you know, the investigation is delving deeper as far as the Kerala gold smuggling case is concerned. We are seeing, in fact, these arrests taking place. What more can we expect as far as skeletons tumbling out from the closet, as far as this case is concerned?
Yeah, Nancy, this is indeed the watershed moment here, because this is for the first time bureaucrat associated with Kerala government is being arrested. That too, one of the topmost bureaucrats associated with the government. Yesterday, as you said, his anticipatory bail was rejected by High Court, and in that particular judgment, High Court had observed 2 things basically. First is that ED and Customs have been able to convince the court that Shiva Shankar has been in constant contact with one of the prime accused, Sapna Suresh. And second point is that they have been in closer contact. More than that, he himself had volunteered to help her by arranging his own chartered accountant to assist her in managing her finances. So basically, her finances was ED is alleging ED has made the case that her finances are basically proceeds of the crime. So this vicariously comes to like assisting in the whole smuggling case. Even if it's about managing the money, but still it's more about managing the crime proceeds basically. So on these lines, ED is interrogating more and more into that to get more detail. And all this has come out basically after retrieving the deleted digital records in mobile and laptop of Sapna Suresh. So this is the most critical moment to, and then to encounter Shiv Shankar more with these evidences, and ED and other agencies trying to bring out the contradictory nature of his own statements. That will be the procedure that the agency might be following.
Okay, so clearly a political battle there breaking out also with just less than 6 months to go for Kerala going to polls in 2021. Political parties, this particular issue could be a big political issue in the upcoming assembly elections in Kerala. Well, moving on to our next story. Well, a study there conducted by the Indian Council of Medical Research, that's ICMR, has found out that the Bacillus calmette-guerin, that's the BCG vaccination, can be beneficial for elderly individuals in tackling novel COVID-19 infection. According to the study, BCG vaccination induces enhanced innate and adaptive immunity in elderly individuals and may prove beneficial against COVID-19. In an ongoing study, scientists at the council have found that the vaccine induces increased memory cell responses and total antibody production in elderly.
Now, India's average daily COVID-19 fatality is continuously decreasing since the past 6 weeks, and according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the steadily falling case fatality rate to 1.5% at present has positioned India globally as the country with one of the lowest case fatality rate. The Health Ministry has shared a graphical presentation of the average daily new deaths in the past 6 weeks. And in the week starting 16 September to 22nd September, India's average daily fatality was 1,165, while in the week of 27th October, it declined to 615. Now, this is because of timely hospitalization, the provision of the standard of care prescribed in the National Treatment Protocol, the use of non-invasive oxygen, the use of steroids and anticoagulants.
Well, moving to our next segment, that's taking a look at all that's happening across the globe in our segment Across the Globe. Well, first up, French President Emmanuel Macron has announced a second national lockdown from the 30th of October to try and contain the rebound of COVID-19. The national lockdown in France will be there till at least the end of November. In an address to the nation on Wednesday, Macron said that under the new measures, people would only be allowed to leave home for essential work or medical reasons. However, schools will remain open with reinforced health measures. Also, public services will stay open. Factories, agricultural operations, building and public construction work will continue to function. The new measures will come into force from Friday. Earlier this month, Macron announced a nighttime curfew in Paris and other big cities, but officials this week acknowledged that measures had proved insufficient to bring down infection rates, requiring a more drastic response. COVID daily deaths in France are at the highest level since April. 36,437 new cases were confirmed on Wednesday.
After exchanging with all our European partners and weighing the good points and bad points, I have decided that we needed, starting from Friday, to again put in place the lockdown that had stopped the virus. Each hour counts. All these measures should be in place as soon as possible, and they will be in the night of Thursday to Friday, and they will be in place at least until 1st December. Starting tomorrow, a debate followed by vote will be held at the Parliament. From tomorrow, the government will detail all these measures.
Meanwhile, Germany will impose an emergency lockdown from 2nd November. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has announced that month-long lockdown will include the closure of restaurants, gyms and theatres, but not schools or daycare centres. The Chancellor said the measures were necessary to avoid a national emergency. While Germany has a lower infection rate than many other parts of Europe, the speed with which the virus has been spreading in recent weeks has alarmed Berlin.
Well, time now to take a look at updates on COVID-19 pandemic from across the world. As of now, more than 4,47 lakh COVID-19 cases reported worldwide. Global death toll standing at 11,78,000. Global recovery is at 3,27 lakh. United States continues to be the worst hit in terms of pandemic infections as well as fatalities. Infections, the number is now 91 lakh and 19,000 cases of COVID-19. Rather, 90,38,000 cases of COVID-19 there, with the death toll now surging past the 2,33,000 mark.
And we are moving on now to our big international focus, well, your daily dose of the US elections 2020. And with just less than a week to 3rd November presidential elections in the US, the Americans have seen mass fierce campaign rallies amid COVID-19 cases surging in the country. President Donald Trump, a Republican candidate, held rally in Arizona, drawing criticism that he is prioritizing his re-election above the health of his supporters. Meanwhile, Trump overrode COVID-19 in his rally, accusing opponents of changing medical standards due to political gains.
Catch anything, and you know what? I won't catch, because they say, and until I came along, right, they said
if you have it, you get better. You're immune for life. But when I said I had it, I got better, they said, you've only got 4 months. They've changed the whole medical standard. If it was anybody else, it was good for life, right? But with me, they said, I'm now good for 4 months. Now, I think it's a much longer period, but who the hell knows? Well, we'll know soon enough.
And former Vice President Joe Biden, a Democrat presidential candidate, and his wife Jill cast their ballots for the 2020 elections, joining more than 74 million Americans who have voted with 6 days remaining in the contest. He voted at the Cowell State Office building in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware.
I do have a proposal that relates to how we can improve the Affordable Care Act beyond what it was before, which Barack and I wanted to do at the time, to add a public option, allowing people to keep their private insurance, if that's what they choose they want to do, making it more affordable to get a better plan, and in terms of a gold plan, all the different plans, you can make it more affordable, subsidizing it more, and fundamentally changing the way in which the cost of medication.
Well, moving to our next segment, that's getting you the latest from all the World Wide Web and also social media in our segment Web News Review.
And we have our colleague Tapash Bhattacharya joining us this morning for all that's making it to the headlines in the World Wide Web. Tapash, good morning. What are you carrying? What do you have for us this morning?
Good morning, Nancy and Anil. And yes, let's start with the first story that we are tracking, and that's an interview by Economic Times today. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first interview after the COVID-19 outbreak, where he defines the approach of the new India in a fast-shaping new pandemic world order, how preemptive strategies like the lockdown helped save many lives, how the economy is on road to recovery, and why he is still optimistic of achieving the target of the 5 trillion economy by 2024. Prime Minister also comes out strongly against his critics and says that they just want to deny credit to the government, and far-reaching reforms in agriculture and labor, he says, are a big signal to the global investors. Now, moving on to the second news that we are tracking, and despite this is from the Bihar election, despite COVID, phase 1 of Bihar phase 1 turnout matches the 2015 polling, and this is a headline from the Times of India. 54.3% is the Bihar electorate on Wednesday election, and it's the first phase of the full-fledged assembly election that has taken place, and it has surpassed the corresponding figure of 53.5% in 2019 elections, and is expected to the end of the election also. So that was the second news that we are, and from Bihar, papers and the social media are focusing on the road to the White House with the in-depth analysis. Democratic candidate Joe Biden with his wife Jill Biden cast their votes in the hometown of Wilmington, and after speech on his plans to tackle the COVID-19 effect while attacking President Donald Trump handling of the pandemic.
Okay.
So that was from Washington.
Right.
Now,
Sure.
moving from politics to a little bit of economics. Indian economy, according to Times of India, the headline says that Indian economy accelerates in September as animal spirits soar. What it is, India's economy picked up speed in September as the revival in demand and business activity helped drive the South Asian nation towards recovery from the pandemic-induced slump. And it has once again shown the spirit of India to come out even though in dire times. So that is another economic headline that we are tracking. The next Times of India, where US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's visit to Maldives and Sri Lanka were given a lot of weightage. The headline reads, after India, Pompeo takes anti-China roadshow to the Indian Ocean island, and that says a lot about the kind of
right. Sure. Okay. All right, Tapash Bhattacharya, thanks very much for joining us for the morning and sharing the web news reviews for the day today. Let's move on now to our next segment.
Well, we've got sports next. Well, on to Champions League in Group G match today, an early goal from Dembele and a late Lionel Messi penalty gave Barcelona a 2-0 easy win away to Juventus in the Champions League. Dembele struck with a deflected shot in the 14th minute for Barcelona. The Spanish defender Merrick Demirel was sent off in the 85th minute before Messi settled the match with a stoppage time penalty to leave Barcelona on top of Group G with 6 points and Juventus on 3. Juventus still missing Cristiano Ronaldo after he tested positive for COVID-19 for the second time. In Group H match of Champions League, with the help of Marcus Rashford's hat-trick, Manchester United defeated RB Leipzig 5-0. Greenwood scored the first goal for Man U in the 21st minute of the game. Rashford then scored 3 goals and a penalty goal in the 87th minute for Manchester to give their side a one-sided 5-0 victory. In Group E match, Chelsea beat Krasnodar 4-0. For Chelsea, Callum Hudson scored the first goal in the 37th minute, followed by Timo Werner scoring a penalty in the 76th. The other 2 goals for Chelsea were scored by Hakim Ziyech and Pulisic.
And let's now move on, take a look at the weather conditions for today. In view of significant reduction in rainfall activity over most parts of the country, southwest monsoon had withdrawn from the entire country simultaneously with the setting in of northeasterly winds in the lower levels. The northeast monsoon rains had commenced over extreme south peninsular India. A cyclonic circulation lies over southwest Bay of Bengal off North Tamil Nadu coast in lower and mid levels. Under its influence, scattered rainfall with moderate thunderstorm and lightning very likely over Kerala and Mahe and Tamil Nadu and Puducherry during the next 5 days, with isolated heavy falls over South Tamil Nadu during the next 24 hours. Generally dry weather very likely over most parts of northwest, west, central and east India during the next 4 to 5 days. And a look now at the temperature in your part of the country.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Breakfast News. But remember, we've got a campaign running for you that's called Mask Up India. So as you step out of your house, you need to have that mask. Just as you wear your watch, you need to have your mask in your hands, and also following social distancing and sanitizing your hands as and when possible. So do not forget this campaign we are running. We are running because we respect you and we need to protect one another. So we need to do that, and we need to wear a mask every time we step out of our house. So my show is about to end. I'm going to wear one. I surely hope that you all will do too.
Absolutely. Well, it's a simple task. Just wear a mask. With that, it's a wrap on the show this morning. But before we go, we'll be leaving you with a glimpse of Happy Halloween. The residents in Los Angeles enjoying pumpkins with the help of a drive-through ahead of Halloween amid this year's parade had been called off in view of COVID-19 pandemic. Take a look at those visuals, and yes, do take very good care of yourself as far as this season and of course the COVID-19 pandemic, battling COVID-19 is concerned. Thanks for being with us.